it's Keegan. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video we are going to be doing sorority recruitment slash rush advice, tips, things like that. These are the things that I really wish I would have known going into sorority recruitment that I feel like I've watched every single video about this possible, and some of these things I have not heard. I actually think some of my tips are things that I'm not allowed to talk about, like they're like the secrets, so like please don't draw me, Alpha Chi. I'm an Alpha Chi Omega at Arizona State University. My last video was talking about my sorority rush experience, and then my next video will be talking about outfits, so like what to wear, what not to wear, some inspiration, and then what I wore, just because I had no idea what to wear. I wanted to know everything going into recruitment. I didn't want to leave anything up to fate. I am a super planned person. I'm also doing a giveaway on my Instagram if you guys want to enter that, so like just throwing that out there. Look how much advice I have for you guys. Just yeah. First thing that I want to talk about is how recruitment works. I have an application where you talk about your interests, your hobbies, involvement that you did in high school. Let me just make this clear. These people have stalked you. They've looked at your Twitter. They've looked at your Instagram. They know everything about you. It's really creepy, actually. Even if you're on private, they can like still get into your Instagram. Top secret. Don't tell anyone I told you, even though I'm putting it on the internet. When you fill out this application, make sure that you're putting things that you're actually interested in and you're actually talking about. Maybe you went horseback riding one time when you were 7 years old. Maybe like don't put that on the application, but if you're like an avid horseback rider, maybe put that. And who cares if it's something that you're like, oh, they won't think it's cool. You want to be in a house of people that like you for you and not for who you're pretending to be so they'll like you. If you really like anime, put that you like anime. Who cares? Make sure you fill out your interests and involvement in detail. They want really accomplished girls that have done stuff and girls that will do stuff in the future. But don't worry, because if you're like me, I didn't play any sports in high school. I wasn't a part of a ton of clubs. I wasn't president of anything, and I still got in. You have college to do things. So if you're talking to a girl and you're like, I didn't really do a lot of stuff in high school, but I want to do stuff in the future, in college, in this sorority. So that's okay if you didn't do a ton of stuff, because they know you have 4 more years to do stuff. One thing that I do want to talk about is before you even walk into those doors, you can be dropped from a sorority because of your GPA. There is a GPA requirement, and if you fall below that for your high school GPA, or if you're like a sophomore and you're rushing your college GPA, you can be dropped right away if you don't meet that. Just keep that in mind. If you're like, why am I being dropped? It could be because of your GPA. Things that you want to do before recruitment starts. First thing that you want to do is delete or archive any inappropriate photos of like your butt hanging out or you drinking alcohol. Still delete that. When you're in a sorority, you're not allowed to post things like that. They will make you delete it or just like tell you not to post it in general. If you're a person who already has those photos on your Instagram, they're gonna be like, she's already in the habit of doing that. She might be a little bit of a risk. So just delete or archive those. Even if you're private, they can still get into your Instagram. I don't know how they do that. I really want to know how they do that. You also submit a photo for your application. So submit a high quality photo, like a senior photo or just something looking nice, not really like an iPhone selfie. I don't really know why. I guess it just makes you look more professional. Don't ask why, just do it. Another thing is try to get a letter of recommendation, so you can get a letter of recommendation from an alum that was in that sorority previously. If you don't get any, it's totally fine. I personally didn't have any, and I'm perfectly happy in the sorority that I wanted. I heard that they don't even read the letters. They just kind of like check off if you have one and then move along. I don't really think it makes that big of a difference if you have a letter of rec or not. If you have one, great. If you can't get one, don't stress about it, because that's not going to be the deciding factor if you get into a house or not. Go to any events that the sorority has before recruitment. So for my school, we had passport and Greek block party. It's a really great way of getting to know the girls in a very casual setting, and you can really get to know people that way. You can also meet people by chance and not only be meeting people with the same interests as you. So you can see if there's a wide variety of people in that house. Another thing that I recommend doing is to like stalk their Instagram, their websites, all that stuff. Learn about their values, their philanthropy, educate yourself. During recruitment, things that I would recommend talking about is how you would love to live in this sorority house next year. If you would love to be on the executive board or have a chair position, or like which exactly position would you want? But only say this if it's true. If you don't want to live in the sorority house, don't talk about how you want to live in it. If you don't want to have a position in the sorority, don't pretend like you do, because then you're the girl that lied. One thing that also makes you seem very interested in them is to know your knowledge about the sorority before they even bring it up. I remember I was in Kaio and I was like, oh yeah, your philanthropy Make-A-Wish, and the girl was like, how did you know that? It's like first round, like we didn't even talk about this yet. You don't necessarily need to know their values, because that's kind of a lot of the stuff to know for every single sorority, but if you know like their philanthropy, you'll show them that you're interested in their house, showing them your knowledge. Also talk about your involvement in high school and your involvement that you want to be doing in college and in the sorority. Again, if you don't want to have a position, don't pretend like you want to have a position in the house. They want girls to be involved in their sorority. They want girls to take chair positions and executive board positions and be a future president. If you weren't that involved in high school, that's totally fine. Just be like, when I was in high school, I wasn't really involved. Now in college in this sorority, I really want to. But again, if you don't actually want to, don't say that you do. It's also okay to be honest, and if you did a ton in high school, it's okay to be like, I was really involved in high school, and for my freshman year of college, I just want to take a step back and relax and not be super involved. That's totally okay. They're not expecting freshmen to run the entire house. When it comes to taking positions and your involvement in the house, be honest and say like what you want to do and what you don't want to do. I think they'll respect you a lot more for being honest than for lying. If you really like something about the house, tell them that. I remember I was in one house and I was like, I love your sisterhood. It's amazing. And I kept saying that over and over. This was the house that I actually ended up prepping, and I wasn't sure that they were going to want me back, and they actually told me that my interest in their sisterhood and like me talking about how much they liked it made them really want me back. If you're like, oh my god, your philanthropy is amazing, like I absolutely love it, I want to be a part of it, say it. Sororities at my school will play videos for every single round, like philanthropy round and sisterhood round. They'll play videos kind of showing a little bit more into their house, and instead of watching the videos, I recommend looking at the girls and seeing how they interact. At my school for these videos, they'll kind of like stand around the entire room in a circle, and they'll play the videos and then like dance and sing to the song that's in the background. I don't recommend watching the video because it's kind of fake. They literally had a videographer like pretend to like watch them like throw smoke bombs in the air and like release balloons, but instead look at the girls, see, are they friends? Like, do they have a real connection? Is this fake? Are they interacting with each other in a very genuine way? I think that's honestly the best way to get a look into the sorority and how they feel about each other. Another thing is, while you're waiting to go into the house, you're in a line with a bunch of girls. Talk to the girls in this line because these are the girls that they're calling back and could possibly be your sisters. I remember I was on a line and a bunch of the girls I didn't really see myself meshing with, and I was like, oh, these would be my sorority sisters, and it kind of made me second guess it and think like, are these really the kind of people that I see myself hanging out with? Because during recruitment, you're talking to the older girls, you're talking to the actives, but you're not really talking to people your age who you will be friends with. That's a really great way to see the kind of girls that they're recruiting. This is a huge thing, and it's to make sure that you are the topic of the conversation, and it's like 100% okay if like you're talking to someone and she asks what your major is and then you ask her what it is back. That's like how you have a normal conversation. Make sure the recruiter learns something about you. I remember I was talking to a girl that got dropped from a house, and she was like, I just like don't understand why they dropped me. Like, the girl was crying the entire time that we were talking. I was like, they dropped you even though she was crying because she loved you? And she was like, no, she was crying because she's a senior and like really sad to graduate. And I was like, there you go. The entire conversation, she was focused on being sad about graduating, and she didn't learn anything about you. She didn't know if you'd fit well in the chapter, or if you have a good personality, or if you would fit with these girls, because she was too busy crying, thinking about herself. So it's okay to ask them questions about themselves and learn more about the house, but make sure they learn something about you. Recruitment can be a little fake because they're putting on the best version of themselves. They have their makeup done, they have their hair done, they're in this like really cute outfit, and they're like have good posture, but that's not everyday life. Think about it. Could you see yourself hanging out with these people in a hoodie with no makeup on, haven't brushed your hair in 2 days? Could you see yourself with those people? I remember I went to a house and I really loved it, but I was like, they're too perfect, and I don't think that I would fit in because I'm kind of a mess of a person. But do keep in mind, everyone's putting on the best version of themselves. My next tip is to be selfish. Only ask for houses back that you actually want. Don't ask for AD pie back because your best friend wants AD pie, but maybe you don't have the best connection with them. That house may be perfect for your friend, but it may not be perfect for you, even if you guys are best friends. One thing to ask is what their values are and see if you align with those values, because they're looking for girls that fit those specific values that they have. Arizona State is a values-based recruitment. They're recruiting you based on their values and not your appearance, not about outward things, but about their values. One of Alpha Chi's values is academic interest, and if you like don't like school and you don't care about your grades, you probably don't align with that. But if you care about your grades and you put a lot of effort into it, talk about that, because you align with that value and you want to show them that like, I fit in with your house because I have the same values as you guys. In between houses, after every single house that you go to, I recommend writing notes in your phone about who did you talk to, how did you feel, do you see yourself fitting into that house, what did you guys talk about? You go to so many houses that you kind of blend them all together, so writing notes right after you get out will help you remember and like refresh your memory. Did you like this house? Did you not? In your bag, you can bring a lot of things. The two most important things that I recommend, hand sanitizer and mints. You are shaking so many people's hands that you want to be clean, and you're talking really close to people because the room's really small and there's so many people that you're like this close to them when you talk. You want to bring mints in case you eat like Chipotle for lunch. Another thing is to utilize your rogams. Rogams are people in sororities that have disaffiliated with their sororities, so they're giving you unbiased opinions and advice. Ask questions, ask for advice, like what should I wear? What should I talk talk about going into this round. I had this experience. What do you take from that? They've been through this and they've gone through training to help you with this experience and make it as seamless and smooth as possible. Another thing that will help you stand out is to find something that sets you apart from other people and talk about it. So for example, me, I make YouTube videos. Not a ton of people make YouTube videos. Other things that you guys can talk about that will make you stand out is, you know, if you had a lot of community service hours, or if you're from a really cool place, or you visited a really cool place. My friend Sam, she's from Michigan, and apparently they have really good tasting water there, and she talked about really good tasting water from Michigan in every single round, and it helped her stand out. Little things like that, they could be funny, they can be serious. Just find something that not a lot of people have in common with you, because it'll help you stand out and the recruiter will remember you more. If you're a legacy, which means that you had a parent, a sister, a relative in a sorority in the past, and that means you're a legacy to that specific sorority that they were in, try to separate your bias of like your parent or sister being in that sorority. I know it's really hard. I just want to say that a lot of legacies got dropped from the house that they were a legacy to. And if you're wondering, like, do they only want me because I'm a legacy? The chances is they probably aren't, because they dropped so many legacies. If you can remember girls' names that you talked to, that's a really good sign that you had a good conversation with them, that they were memorable, it was a house that you really liked. I remember my very first house, very first round, I talked to a girl named Kirsten. I really liked that house and we had a really good conversation. You talk to so many people that all the names get kind of blended in. Honestly, by the end of the conversation, you may not even remember their name. If you can remember them, that's probably a really good sign. One thing I want to talk about is it's okay to drop the process. If you're going through and you don't like it, it's totally okay to drop. A ton of people drop. It doesn't make you any less of a person or have less value. It just means that this wasn't right for you, and that's totally fine. I know so many people that drop the process because they didn't get houses they wanted back, and the ones they had just weren't right for them, or they just didn't really find ones that they were interested in, and that's totally fine. You don't have to accept a bid. You don't have to go through the entire process if you don't love it. One thing to keep in mind is that not every single girl in the house recruits. Some are rogam, some are behind the scenes, some just don't do anything with recruitment. If you look around the room and you see a bunch of like skinny tan blondes, it doesn't mean the entire house is skinny tan blondes. And also on their Instagram, not every single girl is posted. Their entire sorority is not just that. And don't be intimidated going into a house being like, I don't look like these girls. They want diversity. They want girls that are different. At the end of every single round, you rank houses based on houses that you want back, and they do the same for the P&Ms. My advice is not to rank houses based on the ones that you think they'll want you back. I really want beta, 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 but I don't think beta, beta is really gonna want me. Still put them, because there's a really good chance that they could actually want you, and even if you think they don't, you're still putting that you want them, because you could lose a house that you really love just because you're second guessing yourself. The house that I prepped, I almost didn't put them because I thought they wouldn't want me back, so I don't want to put them. I don't want to face that rejection. I ended up putting them, and they actually ended up wanting me back for some reason. So make sure that you're putting houses that you actually want and not houses that you think want you. Here are some of my tips on what not to do during recruitment. First one is don't talk bad about any other houses. Talking bad about a house is different than talking about a bad experience that you had with a house. So basically, don't gossip about other houses while you're in recruitment. Here are the 3 things that you should not talk about. You will get dropped if you talk about these things: boys, alcohol, and drugs. Don't talk about them. If you want to talk about them after bid day, go ahead, but during recruitment, don't talk about getting dropped from other houses. This is kind of like a personal opinion thing. It's not like they're gonna drop you if you say this, but it's kind of like going to a job interview and then telling them that you got fired from your last job. They're going to be like, why did this house not want her? Like, what's the red flag that they saw in her that I'm not seeing? And they'll kind of second guess you. That's just my personal opinion. That's not set in stone, but that's just kind of like what I think. I know someone that did that, and every single time they talked to a house about other houses dropping them, they got dropped. Also, don't talk about other sororities. You'll seem uninterested in the one that you're actually talking to, and you're wasting time talking about other sororities when they could be learning about you, and you could be seeing that if you fit into this house or not. This one is so big, and it's don't pretend to be something you're not. I understand that we want to put on our best versions of ourselves and we want to be liked, but if you have to pretend to be a person you're not, these are not the girls that you'll fit in with. If you're going to be in this sorority for the next 4 years and then be an alum, being a lifetime member after, do you really want to be in a house of girls that you don't really fit in with, that you have to pretend to be someone you're not to fit in with? Don't be mean to sororities that you don't like. I know some people that were like actually mean during recruitment because they just didn't like the house, but sororities talk to each other, and if you're really mean to one house, the house that you really like could hear about that and think, wow, maybe she's not the kind of girl that's right for our house. One thing not to do is not to touch the recruiters. Kind of weird. They're not allowed to touch you. For instance, they're not allowed to hug you, but if you initiate a hug, they're allowed to hug you back. So if you want to hug them, go ahead, but don't wonder like, why aren't they hugging me? We had a really great conversation. I want to hug, like, why aren't they doing it? I don't want to be the person to initiate it. They can't do it, only you can. But if you initiate it, they can hug you back. Don't single intentional preference. So for preference round, you put down your 2, you put down your first, and then your second one, that if you don't get the first, you'll get the second one. Single intentional preference is when you only put down one option that you want to get a bid from. I heard that the second you do that, you are immediately dropped. That could be a rumor, but doing that shows that you don't have the Pan-Hellenic spirit. Another thing I recommend not to do is going on Greek Rank before. Greek Rank is a website where people put their opinions about sororities and rank them. Ranking and stereotypes really shouldn't matter. I know people go in wanting a top house because literally everyone talks about that going into recruitment, that they only want to be in 3 houses. 1,500 girls can't all be in 3 houses, so I just recommend not doing this. Going into recruitment without hearing any stereotypes, any rumors, and just going with the blind eye, because I think that you'll find a house that you love genuinely if you don't have all these preconceived ideas about houses in your head. Don't be stressed about trying to hold the conversation. It is the recruiter's job to lead the conversation, so all the pressure is on them and not on you. You just kind of go with it, so you don't have to think of talking points before you go into a house, because that's the recruiter's job. Let's talk about what to wear. I will be doing a whole video on this for my next video, but I thought I'd just give you some like quick little tips so you progressively get more dressed up as the days go on. Look presentable and wear what you want to wear. Wear what makes you feel like you and not what you think they want to wear. I feel like going through recruitment, I wore some outfits that just weren't really me, but they were what I thought the recruiters would want to see. I really regret that because I could have had an opportunity to show my style, my personality through my outfits. Wear comfortable shoes. You will be walking so much. Oh my god. You don't need to wear 6-inch heels the entire time. Wear comfortable shoes. You'll thank me later. Also, when you're trying on things in the dressing room, try sitting down, because most of the time you'll be sitting down, so like if it rides up your butt and like shows your underwear when you sit down, maybe don't get that. And try to find things that make you stand out. So for example, I wore a long dress on Sisterhood round. A lot of people told me that they really liked my dress and it helped me stand out and remember me. Next thing I'm going to talk about is things that can get you dropped. So the first one is having a GPA below a 3.0. Every single school is different with their like GPA requirement. I think that is the all sorority average for ASU. Well, not all sorority average, but like the lowest sorority average, if that makes any sense. So if you have a GPA below that from high school, then you could be dropped before you even walk into the house. Another reason why they could drop you is that they could see you in another house. Like you could be in Pi-Fi and they're like, she is such an Alpha Chi. She would fit in so much better there. Another thing is you don't match their standards or values. Again, one of Alpha Chi's is academic interest, and if you don't have a very good GPA and you don't seem very interested in school, you don't match their values, so you might not be a perfect fit in the house. You were a risk, meaning that you had inappropriate photos on your Instagram, or you were talking about drugs, alcohol, boys, because this is where you put on your best face. This is like an interview. Would you go into an interview and talking about how you like to get drunk every single night? You totally can, but this is just not the place to talk about it. The last thing is you didn't present yourself well. You didn't talk yourself in a high light. You didn't have very good hygiene. You weren't dressed appropriately. Again, they don't judge you based off your outfit, but like if you're wearing sweatpants, something that you should be a little bit nicer to, kind of asked for it. A lot of people ask me, should I rush? I don't know if I should. What do you think? I think you should go through the process, go through all of it, and if you decide at any point that it's not right for you, then drop. I think it's better to try it and know that it didn't work out than to always wonder if it was right for you or not. I'd recommend looking at all the sororities dues before you go into recruitment, and if you know that you can't afford it, I wouldn't go through recruitment, because you're taking someone else's spot in that house that can afford it, that can add value, because you'll be dropping because you can't afford it. And I know this sounds really mean, but you're taking someone else's spot, and what's the point of making yourself excited to be in this house than to having to drop the next day because you can't afford it? So before you even go, look at the dues and see if it's something that is in your price range that you can afford. So that is the longest video ever. I hope that you guys learned a lot and got some really great advice. I hope it eased some of your nerves. Again, I will be doing an outfits video. I did a video about my experience if you guys want to watch that. I love you guys so much. If you haven't entered my giveaway on Instagram, go ahead and do that. I love you. You're amazing. Good luck with your recruitment, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.